How's it going, YouTube? My name's Josh. This is Comics Rediscovered, and this is going to be my new channel all about my rediscovery of comic books and falling in love with the format again. So stay tuned. So, a little history about me. When I was younger, I collected comics from about the age of 8 years old or so up until my early teen years. And then I kind of just got away from it. I wasn't collecting anymore, but I was still, interested in the stories and um, I had some knowledge of the characters. So, any of the movies or games that came out, I was invested in those. I still watched all the cartoon shows, the old Spider Man, the 90s Spider Man, and X Men, uh, Adventures of Batman, all that stuff. I watched that stuff, but I just wasn't really collecting comics anymore. And then, like I said, always on the outside. So every now and then something would come along and it would spark my interest to go out and find the books and start reading again. So I don't know, about 50 or so issues in, I got invested in Walking Dead. This is the compendium that I have now, but I got into Walking Dead by word of mouth. One of my clients told me about it, and I got into it and started reading just as I was also starting to get into the show. I had read some issues of the comic, and then the show popped up on my Netflix, so we got into that. Me and my wife watched the show while I was reading on with the books. I was reading them in the digital CBR format at the time. Initially just downloading them, and then once I caught up with the downloads, I went to Comixology and was downloading the new issues as they were coming. So I was involved with that one, and then that also led me to Kirkman's Invincible. So I read about half the run of Invincible, and then at the time, the tablet that I was reading on died, and I just didn't continue reading. So again, I kind of stepped away from comics, but was in with the Marvel movies and everything at the time. As you can see, my wife has a Funko collection, 300, 400 Funkos. Most of them are comic book characters, DC and Marvel, and then she's got some Disney and other stuff thrown in there. Um, so after Walking Dead and Invincible, again, I had kind of fallen out again, and then every now and then something would interest me and I'd pick it up again. So the next thing that kind of caught my interest was Y the Last Man. So I had gotten into Y the Last Man. I read the first two books, the trade paperbacks, the thicker ones, and then again just fell out of it a second time, third time, whatever. Uh, but again, always kind of interested, keeping an eye on things here and there. Every now and then in the bookstore, I'd walk through the graphic novel section of the bookstore and think of, oh, maybe I should pick this up or I should do this or that. Um, really tempted to pick up the Stephen King Dark Tower series paperbacks, but didn't do that. I'm going to add that to my collection. But then here we are, 2020, and uh, coronavirus hits. So I was had to close down my office and home for a few months. So I decided, I'm going to start reading a lot. And one of my clients, as a birthday gift, one year gave me a stack of Robin to Joker's Wild, and it was each of the four issues and each of the variants of the four issues, and they're all packaged in like the wrapping and everything, so they'd never been opened. It was sitting on my desk, and I saw that, and while I was looking to, buy some books online, I decided, you know what, maybe I'll get back into reading some comics. And the bookstore here in Canada that I bought from was doing 2-for-1 sales on comic books. So I bought another issue of Y the Last Man. I picked up the third Y the Last Man book, and fourth, I believe. And then as my free book, I picked up one of Marvel's epic collection, The Amazing Spider-Man Maximum Carnage. And this kind of reignited everything. This is stuff that I read when I was a kid. I had some of the books, some of the issues. I had the Maximum Carnage game. I had action figures. Like, I was into this. So I picked this up, and reading it again as an adult, you know, I love a lot of the art in it. A lot of the stuff is pretty crazy. I love it. I love the stuff with Venom. Um, the Maximum Carnage writing, though, the writing of the dialogue is a little cringeworthy. It's a little hard by today's standards. to read it and not think it's kind of goofy. The storyline is dark, but the writing is kind of goofy. But this format that Marvel puts out, the Marvel Epic Collections, I like this format a lot. I don't really like reading the omnibus. I know a lot of people are into collecting the omnibus, but I mean the Walking Dead one's okay because it's still soft. This isn't overly big and it's okay to read, but some of the omnibus formats are just, you know, they're unwieldy in my opinion. It's reading a textbook, which I don't really enjoy. But again, with these Marvel Epic Collections, this is much smaller. This is much easier to get into. I can throw this in my bag and take it to work, or I can, sit outside and read this, and I'm not, you know, weighed down. It's not cumbersome to pick it up and read. So I really like this format. So I went on Facebook Marketplace and started looking up trade paperbacks once this one was finished, and found somebody locally, and really just started going out and buying up some of these Marvel Epic Collections. And that's where I'm at now. The Epic Collections are kind of the main driving force of what I'm collecting, and I'm collecting these to read them. It's nice to go back and read some of those old storylines. I've got, 4 or 5 of the Spider-Man. I've got a couple of Black Panther, a Moon Knight. So going back and reading the Epic Collections that start in different eras, and it's all older stuff. So the first few runs of Black Panther, the first few runs of Moon Knight, that stuff. Going back and reading those characters again has really been kind of a fun thing to do, really exciting. So that's where I'm at now. I'm collecting the Marvel Epic Collections, finishing off Y the Last Man, and getting into some singular issues so that I can decorate the room with. So later on the channel, I'm gonna continue this rediscovered vlog. I've got a few more things to talk about. And also I'm going to do some unboxing videos. I've got new stuff coming in regularly, and I've got some priority mail. As well as maybe going over some storylines, some things that I found in either the Epic Collections or other trade paperbacks, which are worthwhile stories to read. So if you like comics, you want to rediscover comics with me, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. I forgot to mention, if any of you guys are reading the Epic Collections, check out the Epic Marvel podcast. Great podcast. I listen to them. I'll read one of these issues and then listen to their podcast. And leave a comment below. Which Epic Collections do you like? Or even just, what trade paperbacks do you like? Give me some recommendations since I'm just getting back into comics. It'd be great to hear from the community. All right? Take it easy.